We can now cross live to Robert Naiman, Policy Director of the organization Just Foreign Policy. Now, Mr. Naiman, the head of the International Committee of Russia's Federation Council stated this attack was conducted in order to create difficulties for the OPCW mission, which is, of course, expected to start today. What do you make of that comment?
Well, this is a cynical act. This is a cynical act. It's illegal under international law. It's illegal under U.S. law. The administration and its supporters have no plausible story that this act will make anything better. Even the New York Times dismissed this act before it happened as a feel-good, limited strike, symbolic act for domestic consumption. So, what can we say about the United States, the United Kingdom, and France? These are cynical actors. They're not interested in what happens to civilians in Syria or in Yemen or anywhere else in the Middle East. It's a sad day for the world to know that these countries are so cynical and callous. But I hope that this is the end and that this behavior won't continue.
President Trump is facing criticism from the Democratic Party and even from some Republicans for not seeking authorization from Congress before he went ahead with this. Why didn't he? And how strong of a backlash do you think he's going to experience here?
Well, we saw before the act that several senators, at least 5, and 88 members of the House of Representatives spoke out publicly to the president and said, under the Constitution, under the War Powers Resolution, this decision does not belong to the President of the United States. It's supposed to be a democracy. Trump is president, he's not the king. Under the Article 1 of the Constitution, Section 2C of the War Powers Resolution, Congress, not the president, decides when the United States will go to war, when the United States will use military force. President Trump ignored that. He decided that it was his decision to carry out these strikes. How strong the backlash will be, I can tell you the front lash, that was what I just told you, the front lash. 5 members of the Senate, 88 Democratic Republican members of the House. I hope that more members will speak up in the future than in the past, especially if there's any indication that this is not the end. I mean, I'm sorry for the cynicism, but some members of Congress are okay with this so long as this is kind of fake, limited, symbolic thing, but wouldn't be okay with it if it were sustained. So hopefully it won't be sustained, but if it is sustained, then hopefully these other members of Congress will speak up and assert their war powers and insist that Trump cannot go any further than what it's already done.
Interesting how we've seen similar kind of actions from the UK Prime Minister, Theresa May. She didn't even ask for Parliament's approval before she went ahead with this. And a year ago, British Parliament didn't allow her to participate in a bombing campaign with the US. So do you think she went ahead because she was afraid they wouldn't allow it again?
I absolutely think that. I mean, we can't say for sure, but it seems like a completely reasonable story. Parliament is on recess. It comes back on Monday. I don't think that's a coincidence. We've seen the same pattern in the UK as in the United States. The president, the prime minister, they love to do this when Parliament is not in session, when Congress is not in session. What was the emergency? Why did this have to happen on the weekend? On Friday night in the United States, Saturday morning in the Middle East? Because that's when these dictators really prefer to do these actions. What is Theresa May's authority to do this without Parliament? Apparently it comes from the Queen of England, because the UK doesn't have a constitution. Isn't that preposterous? What is President Trump's authority to do this? He claims that he's the king of the United States, apparently. Macron in France, what is his authority? I don't know. These 3 men, these 3 leaders, Trump, Macron, and May, They see themselves as the masters of mankind. Who approved this? The Security Council didn't approve it. Congress didn't approve it. Parliament didn't approve it. Parliament in the UK didn't approve it. And, you know, these are the same governments that now would love to have us believe that their action in Syria has something to do with protecting civilians. These are the same three governments that are arming and facilitating and participating in the Saudi war in Yemen, the cause of the worst humanitarian crisis in the world. Millions of human beings on the brink of famine, worst cholera outbreak in human history, millions of human beings suffering from the blockade of food, medicine, and fuel at Yemen's Red Sea ports. These are the countries these are the governments that have us believe that this bombing has something to do with protecting civilians. Was any human utterance ever so preposterous? Does anybody in the world believe that this military action has anything to do with protecting civilians? I can't imagine that anyone would be so foolish to believe such assertions.
Robert Naiman, Policy Director of the organisation Just Foreign Policy, thank you for joining us on RT International and sharing your thoughts. We appreciate it.